On today's show, Alperen Sengun's 28 points wasn't enough as Turkiye suffers a heartbreaking defeat to Germany in the EuroBasket Championship. We're going to break it all down for you right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The 12 Giant men fought hard, but it ultimately wasn't enough as they fall to Germany in the EuroBasket Championship, 88-83. What is up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets and Turkiye basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Thursdays. Be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets, where the best way you can help us grow our show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing. And then like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. On today's show, we're going to be talking about recapping, breaking down, reliving the pain that was the loss in the EuroBasket Championship. Final score 88-83. Just Turkiye not enough to overcome Germany, especially late in this game. A lot that we're going to have to break down and talk about from this one. What went wrong for Turkiye in this game? What we saw out of Alperen Sengun. His 28 points was impressive, but it ultimately wasn't enough. There were certainly some moments that Sengun will be able to look back on it and wish he could have done some things differently, as well as moments to look at and grow from for the future of his career. I'm going to get to all of that, some lessons to be learned from EuroBasket, as well as why Turkiye will be back here again in the future. First, want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use anywhere across the app. Download the app today. And as always, thanks so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you so much for being an everyday. And also thank you to all the Turkish fans who have been tuning in and, being a part of this program throughout this EuroBasket run, and hopefully you'll stick around. Hopefully you've appreciated and enjoyed the coverage, and you'll stick around for this upcoming season where we are sure to see Alperen Sengun take yet another significant step forward in his NBA career. But let's talk a little bit about this game. And I don't even know where I want to start with this. I will say this is the most emotionally invested I've been in a non-Rockets basketball game, like, in my entire life. I think the closest that I've ever been to this level of investment was Game 7 Cavs Warriors, just because I desperately wanted to see the Warriors lose. Like, I was so anti-Warriors at that point that I wanted LeBron and the Cavs to win, and I was so invested in that game. But this was right there, man. Like, and I was sitting on pins and needles this whole game. And it was stressful. It was really stressful. I want to talk a little bit about the game first and foremost. Then I want to get into some specifics about the stuff with Alperen Sengun. I'll probably bounce around a little bit. My mind's kind of all over the place, still kind of reacting to this loss, if you will. I'll start with Sengun. Look, into the game. Sengun had a really strong scoring performance, but unfortunately, this wasn't one of his better games throughout EuroBasket. It just wasn't. He finished the game with 28 points on 11 of 22 shooting. He was 10 of 17 overall, just 1 of 5 from three-point land. Was 5 of 6 at the free throw line, had only 3 rebounds and 3 assists, and also racked up 3 turnovers. He did have 3 blocks. He got them all in the first quarter, but he did have 3 blocks. But I think this game was almost the antithesis of what we've seen out of Sengun through all of EuroBasket, where there have been a handful of games where he hasn't even needed to be the number one scoring option, where he has been able to impact the game in a variety of other ways with his defense, with his playmaking, with his screening, with his rebounding, like all these different things. And this was like the complete flip side of that, where first off, in the first quarter, I mean, Sengun had some nice defensive plays in the first quarter, but you didn't really feel his impact on the game. Meanwhile, on the other side, you certainly felt Franz Wagner's impact on the game. He had his fingerprints all over the game. And I even remember, like, sharing this on social media during the game when Sengun was getting his first breather, his first rest of the game. I was like, he needs to find a way to make an impact when he checks back in. And that's exactly what he did in the second quarter. He came into the second quarter and he was just, his sole focus was to score the basketball. And he did exactly that. He had like a straight 4 or 5 different possessions in a row, scoring at the rim, scores at the rim again, pops a 3-pointer, scores at the rim again, just repeatedly getting it done offensively, gets to the free throw line. And he racked up, I want to say he racked up like 14 points in the second quarter. I don't have the quarter by quarter breakdown here. But he was sensational in the second quarter. He showed up in a big way as Turkiye's star player and shouldered the scoring burden to get them back out in front and to take a lead, a 6-point lead, 46-40 into halftime. But that was kind of his only mark on the game, unfortunately. Like the rebounding was well below his usual standard. And when you look at the team stats across the board, I mean, Germany out-rebounded Turkiye by 10. They out-rebounded 36-26. And part of that was because Sengun wasn't where he needed to be. He wasn't as effective on the glass. The facilitating wasn't quite there, right? Germany they doubled at times, but they also elected to guard Sengun in single coverage at times and just force him into being a scorer. And here's the issue, and I have some of this falls on Sengun, but some of it also falls on his teammates and on coaching. And this is going to be the issue that we see. We've seen it with the Rockets. We've seen it in EuroBasket with the national team. But when you just either can't or won't get the ball to your best player and let them make their impact on the game, then bad stuff starts to happen, or things don't look as good as they could. And in this game, especially early on, there was a little bit too much Shane Larkin offense for my liking. He finished the game just 5 of 16 overall shooting. He was trying to force the issue a little bit too much offensively, and it really felt like for a good chunk of this game, Turkiye was really sped up, that they weren't settling into their offense. They weren't playing through Alperen Sengun, getting those post touches, letting him command a double team or scoring right at the rim. They got away from the recipe of success that they'd had through a lot of the tournament up to this point. And that's disappointing. And that's one of the, issues when you have a star player who is a big man who needs the guards and the other players on the team to recognize, hey, I need to get the ball to my big and let him do his thing. Let him go to work, right? And the reason I say this is partially on Sengun is he also needs to command those opportunities better. And some of that's on coaching too, but he also needs to make the most of his opportunities when he's given them. And when I say that, I mean the 5 threes that Sengun took in this game, I feel pretty confident saying I didn't like pretty much a single one of them. The very last one at the very end with, a chance to tie the game, that he had to take that one. But there were so many threes that he took that felt like lazy 3-pointers. Early in the shot clock, zero effort to try and get something going, a paint touch or a post up or a drive or anything, just walking into a 3-point. And that's not his game, unfortunately. It's not. If it was, cool. If he was knocking down threes at a 35, 36, 37% clip, awesome. Take them all. But that's not who he is as a player. And some of that might have been the exhaustion of being tired from, hounding, the German players on the perimeter, playing so hard in the pick and roll, playing hard defensively. But some of it's just settling, right? And that's the little bit, there's still, I walk away from this feeling 2 ways about Alperen Sengun. One, that he has shown a tremendous amount of growth, and then he's absolutely on a star level trajectory. And you're not going to take that away from him. There was not a single player who played better through all of EuroBasket than Alperen Sengun. I'll say this for anybody who wants to listen to it. Alperen Sengun was robbed of the EuroBasket MVP award. I don't care that Germany won and that Dennis Schroeder was fantastic throughout the tournament. Dennis Schroeder did not have anywhere near the amount of responsibility, the individual responsibility that Alperen Sengun had throughout this tournament for his team. Sengun was the number 1 scorer, rebounder, facilitator. He was the defensive anchor, all of that for his team. Dennis Schroeder had a gigantic role to play in Germany winning gold. But I maintain Sengun was robbed. But I go back to, again, this is there's a lot to be proud of, and there's a lot to be excited for with Alperen Sengun moving forward, both for the Houston Rockets and for the Turkish national team down the line. But there's also a lot of moments that you can look at in this game and identify as moments that are he's going to go back and look at and learn from and grow from. There's a lot of lessons to be learned from this game. And we're going to be, and not just this game, but the whole EuroBasket experience. And we're going to talk about a few of those in particular as we navigate through this show. Coming up, I want to get into the game a little bit, break down a little bit about, the game flow and how things started and, some of the unfortunate crunch time execution for Turkiye that resulted in them not being able to come away as the gold medal champions. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, $5 only, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel's awesome because it fits however you like to bet. Maybe it's player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds in front of you. Right now, you can head over to FanDuel.com. Take a look at the outright favorites to win the Super Bowl this season. You got the Ravens as the favorites at plus 550. Right behind them, you have the Bills at plus 600, the Eagles at plus 650, the Packers plus 750, and then the Kansas City Chiefs, an 0-2 start, the first 0-2 start ever in the Patrick Mahomes era, at plus 1,100. To win it all this season. For all those odds and so much more, head on over to FanDuel.com. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast, home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. All right, looking a little bit about how this game started. I mean, I'll tell you what, this game could not have started better for Turkiye. A 13-2 start out of the gate. It looked like we were headed for another blowout performance, just like against Greece early on. They had great ball movement. Cedi Osman hit a couple big threes early on. And it was all Turkiye early, and Germany had to call a timeout. And as soon as they came back from that timeout, that's when it became a real game. They reeled off a 7-0 run. Great response from Germany, and they kind of went back and forth there in that first quarter. Isaac Bonga dude had an insane game. Dude had a ridiculous game, hit big threes. I want to say he was perfect shooting the ball from the floor in this one. Bonga, 4 4 from downtown. And that was certainly an element at play here. Germany just shot the absolute lights out of the basketball, 14 of 26 from downtown on the evening. And, it's not that Turkey's defense was good too, is the part. They forced them into some really, really difficult moments offensively. And I want to give a huge shout out to Seamus Hazer and Kenan Sabahi and Shane Larkin a little bit too, who really did a great job neutralizing Dennis Schroeder for so much of the game. Schroeder wound up finishing with 16 points on 5 of 11 shooting. And he really took over late in the game, unfortunately. But he was so quiet for so much of the game before he popped off there at the end. He did have 12 dimes, did also have 6 turnovers. So it was not a flawless game from Dennis Schroeder. They made him work for it across the board. And Seamus Hazer was the most individually talented defender that Schroeder had matched up with throughout this tournament. And it certainly felt like it. Hazer did a great job hounding Schroeder, picking him up full court, really making him work for every single opportunity. And it wasn't until later in the game that Schroeder started to kind of wiggle loose a little bit, get some opportunities. And even then, that dagger shot at the end, that's not a great shot. Ercan Osmani forced him into such a difficult look for that 2-pointer to pull ahead by 3 late in the game, the final, the dagger, if you want to call it that. Honestly, that's a shot you live with, a long 2 over the outstretched arms of a 7-footer in Ercan Osmani, who did a great job contesting it. There's an alternate reality where that shot just bricks off the back iron. You feel really good about that contest, really good about that miss. One of the biggest, probably the biggest play though of the game was the possession right before that one, where Shane Larkin drove the ball in, and I want to say he missed it. It was either a miss or a pass. I'm going completely off memory here. I apologize. But the ball wound up in Alperen Sengun's hands with a chance to score the ball right there at the rim. And the score was 84-83. Germany was up. This bucket would have put Turkiye ahead by 1. And that miss from Alperen Sengun was the game, probably the game-defining shot. Like those two buckets back-to-back, or the miss by Sengun and then the follow-up bucket by Dennis Schroeder, that pretty much sealed the game. And that right there would have been, had Sengun made that shot and Turkiye had gone back ahead, then you're a little bit more settled in defensively. The pressure isn't on you to, keep it a 1-point game. You have a little bit of breathing room. Maybe Germany calls a timeout to draw something up at that point instead of, and then you swap out your guys. I don't know. But that was a pretty painful miss from Alperen Sengun in a game where he had, a lot of up and down play, unfortunately. He was, I won't say invisible in the first quarter, but you really didn't feel his impact in the first quarter. The scoring really took off in the second quarter. But then the rest of the way, that third quarter, and especially that fourth quarter, you didn't see Alperen Sengun making the impact you wanted your star player to make on a game. And some of that, again, is not being given the opportunity to do so, by his teammates who were maybe trying to do a little bit too much. But some of it is also just, he just needs to be flat out better. And that's the only way to really look at it. And he'll go back and look at that miss, and he'll probably replay that shot 1,000 times over, thinking, why did I miss that shot when I've made hundreds of them before in my career? And it's tough, right? That's one of those really painful misses that he wishes he could add back, that everybody wishes he could have had back. I will say that despite Shane Larkin's offensive struggles to score the ball, his contributions as a playmaker and as a defender were so invaluable in this game. He had so many great defensive plays, so many great stops, and the facilitating 9 dimes in this game, in a game where Alperen Sengun really did not have it, was not being either given the opportunity to facilitate or just not impacting the game enough as a facilitator to really create opportunities for his teammates in this one. Shane Larkin was the offensive engine for Turkiye in this game. And without him, it would have been a much uglier affair than it ultimately wound up becoming. So he played out of his mind. Cedi Osman was sensational. I don't know how the dude's made 6 3-pointers, 6 of 9 3-point shooting. Nice. He hit 6 of the 9 threes for the entire team. Of the 9 makes that Turkiye had, 6 of them came from Cedi, which means that they were 3 of 16 from players who weren't Cedi Osman shooting threes. Alperen Sengun and Shane Larkin were a combined 2 for 12 from downtown. And that's what really, that's really what kind of killed him, is just that settling for that 3 ball, which is weird because they still shot 36% as a team. But Shane and Sengun were so bad from beyond the arc that Cedi being on fire wasn't able to offset it, unfortunately. Adem Bona was also really impactful in his minutes. And honestly, I buried the lead on this one, but Sengun's foul trouble was another really big lesson to be learned for him from this game. He picked up 3 fouls. He picked up 2 fouls early in the first quarter and had to go sit down, or not early, but like near the end of the first quarter, he picked up his 2nd foul and had to go sit down for a little bit. But he picked up his 3rd foul late in the second quarter. And the foul trouble in FIBA is such an interesting dynamic because in the NBA, it's 6 fouls for 48 minutes. In FIBA, it's 5 fouls for 40 minutes. And Sengun didn't start the second half of the game. He started the game on the bench because Turkiye was up 46-40. And I vehemently disagreed with that decision when Ataman decided to start with Sengun on the bench. I could not wrap my head around, and I cannot grasp the concept of not rolling with your best 5 to start the half. I get it. Sure, they had a 6-point cushion. He was he didn't want Sengun to pick up his 4th foul that early in the game, I guess. but Germany reeled off a 10-3 run to take the lead and to regain control, regain momentum of the game. And that to me, and immediately Sengun checked back in and immediately started, picked up where he left off in the second quarter, knocked down what should have been counted as a 3-pointer, but his toe was on the line, so it was a long 2-pointer. But Sengun checked back in and immediately started making things happen again offensively. But to forego that for the first couple minutes of the third quarter just felt like a really big mistake. And I don't know, maybe it's more common than I think it is of like starting in FIBA to, if you have 3 fouls, like you just don't start the second half. But that just seems such a foreign concept to me. And I just did not feel like it was the right move at the time. And that run to allow Germany to get momentum and to get back into it certainly felt like one of the kind of key inflection points of the game, if you will, where had that not happened, right, had Turkiye been able to build on that lead, then we might be talking about a different result here. Coming up, I want to share final thoughts on this game, as well as lessons for Alperen Sengun to take away from this experience, and ultimately why Turkiye will be back in this position down the line, and why it's not the end of the world that they didn't come away with the gold in this one. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need it. Look, when it comes to 5-Hour Energy, it's awesome because it gives you that little bit of extra boost that you need to get through the day. Maybe it's just an extra long work day, or you're running a bunch of errands, or maybe you just want to, enjoy the night out and you want that little bit of extra juice to be able to get you to, closing time at the bar. 5-Hour Energy is perfect for whatever you're trying to accomplish. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold and try something new in-store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets and Turkiye basketball. I feel like I've been like heavy and like a little dejected in the show. And like, I just want to reemphasize, because you should be absolutely, whether you're Turkish, whether you're a Rockets fan supporting the Turkish team, you should be so incredibly proud of what they managed to accomplish by getting to the championship game, by placing silver, by finishing second best in the entire tournament. And like, that is no small feat. It's bittersweet because they were so close to winning gold, and it was right there within their grasp. So like, that part stings, certainly, but this team still made history. And I think that's a really important thing to take away from this. And you should feel very proud about what this team accomplished if you're a Turkish citizen or a fan, or if you're just a Rockets fan who jumped on the bandwagon to support Alperen Sengun, then feel good about this finish. You absolutely should, right? There's only one winner out of however many, I know it's 30 teams in the NBA. I don't know how many teams competed in EuroBasket. Sorry. 24 teams. There we go. I do know how many teams compete. See, I learned things. But there's only one winner at, 3 winners if you want to do gold, silver, bronze. But to come away with the silver medal should still feel really good. There's still so much to be proud about what this team accomplished. And here's my thing is, like, I fully believe they're going to be back. And it's really easy to see why they're going to be back. The biggest question mark to me about this Turkish team is going to be who eventually steps up and fills the Shane Larkin shoes. Because when you go through all the different respective ages of this Turkish team, Shane Larkin is one of the vets on the team, right? He's 33 years old right now. I think I have that right. He's either about to be 33 or he's already just turned 33. He was born in 92. And so you fast forward to the Olympics a couple years from now. You fast forward to next EuroBasket. will Shane Larkin still be the same a few years from now, right? And that's the big question: is he going to still be that impactful? Will he be maybe coming off the bench at that point? So who steps up and fills that role? The other element, though, here is to consider Alperen Sengun just turned 23. He's going to continue to get better and better and better. And 2, 3, 4 years from now, whenever, the next Olympics rolls around and when the next EuroBasket rolls around, Alperen Sengun is going to be in the prime of his career. And if this is what he looked like at just 23 years old, with, still very young, still very inexperienced at the end of the day, when you consider, how much experience some of these other players have, then I firmly believe that Turkiye will be back in this exact same spot, contending for gold medals down the line as well, whether it's in EuroBasket, whether it's in the Olympics, what have you. They're about to be on the world stage for the foreseeable future. And it's in large part due to how good Alperen Sengun has become, as not even arguably as the best player in all of EuroBasket this go around, and likely will be one of, if not the best player in EuroBasket in the future iterations of this tournament as well. So I wanted to just highlight that, right? I think it was important to sing some praise, because praise is absolutely deserved for this team. I will say, God, one thing that I do hope happens, though, is this is going to add so much fuel to the fire for Alperen Sengun this upcoming season in the NBA. He was awarded being a member of the All-Star 5, so the 5 best players through all of EuroBasket. It was Sengun, both Dennis Schroeder and Franz Wagner, Giannis finished in 3rd place with Greece, bronze medal, and then Luka Doncic, who was not there to receive the award in person, which I think is kind of lame, TBH. I don't know if he had a good reason or not to be there, but I still thought it was kind of lame. So you could tell, like, there were so many emotions for the whole team. Furkan Korkmaz was in tears after the game. You could tell the emotions were so heavy for this team, how badly they wanted it. And when Sengun accepted that award, he was, you could see it on his face, how badly he wanted to win that game for his country. And I can only imagine what the type of motivation that this will provide to him, right? Kind of like these core moments in his pathway, his career trajectory as a player, right? And you hear the old adage, people talk about it a lot, you have to lose before you can win. And I don't necessarily subscribe to that notion, but when you do go back and look at the course of history, at least pertaining to the NBA, I'm not going to pretend to know all of FIBA's history or anything, but there is a decent amount of like really good teams that do eventually become champions, players who do eventually become MVPs, that kind of stuff. You have to take your lumps before you eventually reach the mountaintop. And for the Rockets, this feels like one of those kind of events for Sengun, right? He got an incredible experience playing against the Golden State Warriors and going to 7 games in that series, right? We saw him grow tremendously. We saw his defense reach another level. We saw him shoulder so much responsibility as a scorer, as a playmaker, doing everything for the Rockets. And then we saw him build on that experience against the Warriors in the playoffs and leading his team, leading his country to the gold medal match against a very, very good German team. And I won't take anything away from that German team. They were incredible. They were sensational in the tournament. There's a reason that they were in that gold medal match to begin with, in the championship finale. And to be that close to tasting success, right? To be that close to advancing past the first round, to be that close to earning a gold medal for your country, and to come up a little bit short, right? All that's going to do is drive Sengun even further to be the best version of himself, right? And he's already on what feels like a superstar trajectory. So how much better, how much more does that add to him? I think it's important. I think that's an important takeaway to think about. And, there were a lot of moments in this tournament where you still saw Sengun's youth at play, right? He is still just 23 years old. Some of those 3-pointers that I mentioned earlier, right? The lazy threes or the poor decision-making at times, his decision-making was really good for a lot of the tournament. The playmaking was on another level. Some of the best playmaking we've ever seen out of his entire career on display throughout this tournament. But there were also some questionable moments. And there were some things that he's going to be able to go back and look at and learn from. And sometimes you just have to go through it, right? Sometimes you just have to experience those things and then learn from those mistakes in order to not make the same mistakes going forward. And so for Sengun to have been able to get this type of opportunity to play at this level before this upcoming season, where the Rockets are going to have so much pressure on them to achieve so much, to be legitimate championship contenders, I think it's going to pay serious dividends for Sengun. And one other lesson I think too is seeing just how Germany was able to really load up on Sengun at times and really put the pressure on his teammates to be able to deliver late, the double teams, the shading over, all that stuff. You know, Sengun's one thing, right, is he equipped to be a go-to scoring option late in games? He might be the perfect engine to run you through and get you through the first 3.5 quarters as a player. But at the end of the game, you might need a closer, right? And that's not a knock on Sengun as a player, because guess what? Giannis Antetokounmpo is the exact same way. The Milwaukee Bucks, when they won their title, Giannis wasn't really that team's closer. He didn't have the ball in his hands making the decisions at the end. He ran a lot of actions with Chris Middleton, who had the ball in his hands and was, dissecting and operating out of the mid-range and knocking down shots. And, that was the way that team kind of worked. And envisioning what Sengun is going to be able to look like with Kevin Durant, that two-man game at the end of games, when the going gets tough, when you need a bucket late, when you need a clutch shot to be made, it doesn't all fall on Sengun's shoulders anymore. He's going to have one of the greatest scorers in basketball history to help bail him out, but to not just bail him out or not just bail the team out, but to work as a duo at the end of games. And that's going to make KD's life easier. It's going to make Sengun's life easier. And we're going to see a lot of clutch moments shared between the two of those two guys. Not just KD knocking down shot. It'll be between both of those guys shouldering that burden, because they'll make life easier for each other. And that's what it certainly felt like here in this game is okay, who's going to be able to, how are they going to be able to navigate these crunch time moments? How are they going to execute late in these games? And a Sengun pull-up three-pointer to try to tie the game in the final moments is not really the best play you want at that moment, especially considering how good Cedi Osman had been to that point. I don't know how they didn't draw something up for Cedi, but I digress. There's a lot to be proud of from this tournament. There's a lot to be excited for the future of both Turkish basketball and Rockets basketball, and I'm happy to have been a part of it. This was an incredible experience, and I want to say, look, I know they didn't win gold, so I didn't get to do my full intro in Turkish, but I will say to all of our Turkish brothers and sisters who have been along for this ride and listening to the program, I hope I don't butcher this. Takip etiniz için teşekkür ederim. Turkiye geri dönecek. I hope I said that right. That was like the hardest set of sentences that I had to put together. I will continue to practice my Turkish. I promise. I'll get better at it. But as always, thank you so much for being a part of our show. Turkiye will be back. I'm telling you now, they're going to be back for more gold medals down the line, more championship games. It's going to happen. But with that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets and Turkiye basketball.